Hey Pokemon fans, Tamashii here. One thing I see a lot with people who are new to Pokemon battling is this misconception that just because a Pokemon is legendary, it means it's overpowered, or should be banned from competitive play. While most legendary Pokemon do indeed have some of the highest base stat totals in the game, most powerful attacks and high usability, there are still some who are outdone in these areas by regular old non-legendary Pokemon. So today I'm going to be counting down the top 10 worst legendary Pokemon, to show you that legendary doesn't necessarily mean uber. If you happen to like any of these Pokemon, don't worry. None of these Pokemon are really bad in battle, and a lot of them still have cool roles to play in the storyline of the Pokemon games and anime that give them redeeming qualities. These are just the legends that don't quite make the top cut on the battlefield when compared to the truly overpowered legendaries like Arceus and Mega Mewtwo. Number 10. Meloetta. When Meloetta was first introduced in Gen 5, its typing was a bit of a hindrance for it. With fighting types being so powerful and so common in the competitive scene, its normal typing didn't really help it out. In X and Y though, Ghost type attacking moves became a lot more common. So having that Ghost immunity ended up helping Meloetta out a lot in the long run. There's actually quite a lot to like about Meloetta stat-wise too. Its Pirouette form makes it possibly one of the fastest fighting types in the entire game, and the two forms cover each other well, each making up for the other's weaknesses. So what's the issue? Well, unfortunately, in order to change forms, unlike other Pokemon who can change with items outside of battle, you have to sacrifice a move slot for Relic Song, and sacrifice a turn to switch forms. Additionally, since Relic Song is a normal type attack, it can be blocked by Ghost types to prevent Meloetta from transforming at all. Because of this, most people who use Meloetta competitively don't bother letting it transform, and just use it as a somewhat slow special attacking Psychic normal type. And there are lots of non-legendary Pokemon who fill this role better, like Espeon and Alakazam. Meloetta still has a lot of versatility though, so I'm putting it pretty low on this list. There are lots of ways it can be used, so it has a lot of potential, but the clunkiness of its gimmick is unfortunately its downfall. Number 9. Jirachi. While Gen 6 helped out some legendaries, it hurt others. Jirachi was one of the top threats in the metagame a mere 6 months ago, and it was one of the most annoying Pokemon you could come up against. It was the perfect Paraflinch Pokemon, with Iron Head and Thunder Wave in its arsenal, coupled with its ability Serene Grace, which upped the chance of move's secondary effects. It rendered many a team defenseless as it tore them to shreds one by one. With the change of two little things in Gen 6 though, it's fallen quite a bit from its former grace. Now that electric types are completely immune to paralysis, its most notorious strategy can easily be shut down. And now that Steel no longer resists Ghost, Jirachi falls prey to some of the more common attacking types in X and Y: Ghost, Dark, Fire, and Ground. With just how much stat totals have jumped with the introduction of Megas, Jirachi's measly 100 in every base stat just can't compete in the way it used to. There are still a lot of options for Jirachi of course, and I still love it to death anyway, but Generation 6 was not kind to the Wishmaker, and as far as Serene Grace Pokemon go, you're better off just using Togekiss. Number 8. Zygarde. When I think of the word legendary, exceptionality comes to mind. Something extraordinary and beyond the everyday mundane. Zygarde is unfortunately not that at all. It's by no means a bad Pokemon, it's got some pretty decent stats all around and an alright move pool, but it's not really a good Pokemon. The only things it can do that other dragons can't is Glare and Coil, which aren't exactly anything to write home about, and its ability is wasted with Aura Break, which affects only Xerneas and Yveltal and gives them a 33% power decrease on either Fairy or Dark type attacks. Keep in mind, Xerneas being a Fairy type is immune to Dragon type attacks, and Yveltal being Flying is immune to Ground type attacks. They will still have the upper hand regardless of the debuff. Unless the third version comes along and really beefs Zygarde up like Black and White 2 did to Kyurem, just about any non-legendary dragon type can do what it does a million times better. Let's just hope Zygarde isn't stuck in this rut for too long. Number 7. Mesprit. Every legendary trio has a weak link it seems, and the Lake Spirits are no exception. Uxie's speed and colorful move pool gives it roles to fill that other psychics can't, and Azelf is a great glass cannon, with extremely high attack stats and speed. But poor Mesprit doesn't really seem to have anything it does exceptionally well. It has very round stats, not lacking in anything, but not excelling in anything either, and though it has the same wide move pool as its comrades, it lacks recovery moves, meaning it can't make good use of its high defensive stats. In competitive play, it still sees use in lower tiers, where it does rather well. But put on the same playing field as Ho-Oh, Giratina, or Shaman, it doesn't stand much of a chance. It just goes to show, all legends aren't created equal. Number 6. Regirock. Much like the Lake Spirits, the legendary Golem trio has a dud. The difference here is that they have more than one. Regirock is the less awful of the two, but it does have the unfortunate problem of getting worn down with time. It was blessed with a whopping 200 base defense, but like Mesprit, lacks recovery moves, so it can't really make good use of it. As a solid rock type, it also has weaknesses to virtually every common attacking type, including water, grass, ground, and fighting. Probably where it suffers the most though is the lack of maintenance by Game Freak. Some of Regirock's most powerful attacks, like Earth Power and Focus Blast, were recategorized as special moves after Gen 4, when they were physical in Gen 3. So when Regirock had a base 100 attack to use them with, they served it well. But now that it only has a base 50 special attack to go off of, it lost some of the best moves in its move pool. These days, if you want a non-legendary rock type to give you some bulk that's actually usable, I'd go with Tyranitar instead. It's got better attack and special defense, and it even provides its own sand to help minimize those weaknesses. Number 5. Regice. Regice is like a reverse Regirock, with absurdly high special defense instead of defense. It has many of the same problems, with lack of reliable recovery, and tons of weaknesses to common attacking types, like Fire, Rock, Steel, and Fighting. What puts Regice below Regirock, however, is that it also has to deal with Stealth Rock, which can wear it down even faster, since it calculates damage in percentages based on type effectiveness, not defensive stats. Since Regice is a pure ice type, its weakness to Stealth Rock becomes pretty crippling. At the very least though, its move pool wasn't affected by the physical special split really at all, so that's something. Still, just about any non-legendary Pokemon with Ice Beam and Thunderbolt can fill its shoes better. Sorry Regice, at least you still have a cool sounding cry. Number 4. Regigigas. In addition to multiple runts in the litter, the legendary golems also have the distinction of being the only trio with a wimpy king. Regigigas is set up so bizarrely it's almost a tragedy. It has a base stat total of 670, with high enough offensive and defensive stats to give even the most uber of legendaries a run for their money. It has decently high base speed and amazingly high attack, but it's absolutely crippled by two fatal flaws. The first is its notorious ability Slow Start, which halves its speed and attack stats for the first 5 turns of battle. This makes waste of 2 of its most crucial strengths. I'm going to guess that this ability was designed to try and balance it out a little, and give it a handicap to keep it from becoming too powerful. Unfortunately, this backfired. It didn't just even it out, but made it one of the weakest Pokemon in the entire game. Its other big problem is its shallow move pool. With how long it takes Regigigas to get going, status moves are an absolute must. And since it suffers from the same problem as its underlings, it doesn't have a reliable recovery move to protect itself with. This leaves very few move slots open to play around with, making waste of its high attack stat once it could finally use it. It doesn't have room at all for coverage with half of its move slots being filled up with status moves, and it'd probably be faster just to leave the attacking up to teammates anyway. Poor Regigigas. It's like driving the fastest car in the world, but the speed limit is 15 miles per hour. Number 3. Articuno. At the time of its introduction, Articuno was one of the top threats in the game. It had one of the highest special stats, good defense and HP, and though somewhat mess speed, it could boost itself up with agility. Its blizzard attack was something to be feared, and with the high freeze chance back then, it could immobilize and take out just about anything it came up against, which made it one of my favorite Pokemon. Unfortunately though, Articuno has long outlived its glory days. Freeze chance was nerfed as early as Gen 2, and when the special stat was split in 2, it lost a lot of its offensive power. Now thanks to the ubiquitous Stealth Rock, it has trouble even making good use of its bulk, and it has such a limited move pool that it can't provide the kind of coverage other non-legendary ice types can. Because of this, even a Pokemon with as crummy defensive stats as Jinx can outshine Articuno. But hey, though this majestic bird might not be the best in battle, it sure is pretty. Number 2. Moltres. Moltres has a lot of the same problems as Articuno, except that it was never really a top threat to begin with. Even in Gen 1, there were faster fire types to work with. By Gen 2, its limited move pool made it difficult to use. Gen 4 introduced Stealth Rock, which as we all know is the killer of all nostalgic things fire flying. And though it got Hurricane in Gen 5, Moltres is a fire type and doesn't work well in the rain, meaning Hurricane will always have really unreliable accuracy, unless you sacrifice stabbed fire type moves. Now even at this point, Moltres still had a ton of power and could be used to fill certain niches. But along came Gen 6 and Talonflame and Mega Charizard Y. Well darn, it's tough for a legendary bird to compete with non-legendaries for a team slot these days. And the number 1 worst legendary Pokemon is Phione. Baby Pokemon are kind of annoying. They don't add anything mechanically to their evolutions, they generally have worse stats than most first stage Pokemon, and they're usually a pain to evolve. They're the worst kind of dex filler, And on top of that, most of them aren't even a little cute. What's worse than a baby Pokemon? A Pokemon that is perpetually a baby. Phione is obtained by breeding Manaphy with a Ditto, and though it is related to Manaphy in that way, it cannot evolve into Manaphy, or anything for that matter. So that leaves it as a much weaker version of Manaphy with fewer moves to work with. All it really has going for it is its hydration ability, which lots of other Pokemon have anyway. So there's basically no reason to use it over Vaporeon or Gorobus. Or of course, actual Manaphy. I guess the idea of having a breedable legendary is interesting, but you can't really breed it for IVs or moves with what its parents have to be, so there's really no benefit to any of the Pokemon involved. Phione is doomed to be a legendary lap pet. So there you have it, the top 10 worst legendary Pokemon. While most of the Pokemon on this list are by no means bad Pokemon when compared to the entire national dex, putting Pokemon like Moltres on the same level as Pokemon like Deoxys just because they're both legendaries isn't really fair. Legendaries are still special and rare Pokemon, and the majority of them are still extremely powerful, but there are still a lot of legendaries who fit better on a playing field with just regular old non-legendary Pokemon. And remember, legendary or no, that a Pokemon is really only as good as the trainer using it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click here to subscribe for more Pokemon videos. See ya!